Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to
reply.
yield 1 minute to our Republican leader, Mr. Boehner of Ohio.
Gentleman's recognized for 1 minute.
I thank my colleague from Florida for yielding. Mr. Speaker, today we begin an extended debate on a resolution criticizing the latest effort by American forces to win in Iraq. There's no question that the war in Iraq has been difficult. All Americans are frustrated that we haven't seen more success and that we haven't seen it more quickly. But war is never easy and almost never goes according to plan. Al-Qaeda and their supporters in the region have been steadfast in their efforts to slow us down and frustrate our efforts to succeed. But because they cannot defeat Americans on the battlefield, Al-Qaeda and terrorist sympathizers around the world are trying to divide us here at home. Over the next few days, we have an opportunity to show our enemies that we will not take the bait. It's fitting that yesterday was President Abraham Lincoln's birthday. And not since the dark days of the Civil War has our homeland been a battlefield. Lincoln's leadership preserved the Union through a turbulent age and threatened to undo the American experiment. His belief in the promise of the United States, a promise enshrined in the Declaration of Independence that stated for the first time in history that all men are created equal. This is what drove him to pursue victory. Surrounded by personal and political rivals, Lincoln could have given up. He could have recalled the Union forces and sent them home, but he didn't. And I think we need a similar commitment to victory today. The battle in Iraq is about more than what happens there. This is one part of a much larger fight, a global fight against Islamic terrorists who have waged war on the United States and our allies. This is not a question of fighting for land or for treasure or for glory. We are fighting to rid the world of a radical and dangerous ideology. We are fighting to preserve and defend our sacred way of life. We are fighting to build a safer and more secure America, one where families can raise their children without the fear of terrorist attacks. Lincoln famously said in 1858 that a house divided against itself cannot stand. I believe, as Lincoln did then, that we must choose sides on a very critical issue. Then it was whether we should abolish the evil institution of slavery. Today, it's whether we'll defeat the ideology that drives radical Islamic terrorism. Will we do what it takes to stand and fight for the future of our kids and theirs? Will we commit to defending the freedoms and liberties that we all cherish? Or will we retreat and leave the fight for another generation? These are the questions with historic implications that will be answered this week. Many of my friends across the aisle think this is exactly what we should do: give up and leave. This non-binding resolution is the first step toward abandoning Iraq by cutting off funding for our troops that are in harm's way. And we know what Al-Qaeda thinks when America retreats from the battlefield. They think that we can't stomach a fight. This is why they haven't been afraid to strike us whenever and wherever they've had the opportunity to do so. You know, this war didn't start in Iraq, and this war didn't start on 9/11. The war began with the Iran hostage-taking in 1979. Went on for well over a year. Then on October 23, 1983, the suicide attack on our Marine barracks in Beirut occurred, killing 241 American servicemen and injuring 60 others. On February 26, 1993, was the first World Trade Center bombing that killed 6 people and more than 1,000 others. On June 25, 1996, the Khobar Towers in Saudi Arabia were bombed, killing 20 and injuring some 372 others. On June 7th, 1998, the Kenya embassy bombing killed 213 people and injured 5,000 more. And on June 7th, 1998, the Tanzania embassy bombing killed 11 people and 68 others were injured. On October 12th, 2000, the USS Cole was attacked. 17 American sailors killed, 39 other sailors injured. We all know what happened on September 11th, 2001, when 3,000 Americans died for no other reason than they were Americans. Do we really believe that if we pack up now, and if we abandon Iraq and leave the country in chaos, that our enemies are just going to lay down their arms and leave us alone? For too long, world leaders responded to terrorism by retreating and just hoping for the best. In a post-9/11 world, this is no longer an option. God forgive us that it took such a loss of life to open our eyes, but our eyes are open. We are engaged in a global war now for our very way of life. And every drop of blood that's been spilt in defense of liberty and freedom from the American Revolution to this very moment is for nothing if we're unwilling to stand up and fight this threat.